Don't mess up the mood. Yeah, I work too hard for it. No, I need to beat it before you mess up the mood. Yeah, I work too hard for it. Yeah. Don't mess up the mood.
Say something to the camera. You look at this one.
Okay.
This one's getting like the three of us, you know.
Gotcha.
Awesome. So this is gonna sit down here. Okay.
We good?
Good. Yeah.
Cool. All right, everybody. Welcome to episode number 49.
Episode 49, bro. That's crazy.
Yep.
That's
We
wild,
have a new
man.
guest today. Another photographer from Reno, Nevada.
You're like, how is this gonna work?
Go ahead and introduce yourself, man. Tell people what you do, how long you've been doing it, and all that.
Gotcha. What's up, everybody? My name is Giovanni. I go by Gio. Everyone knows me by Gio. I've been doing photography I started in June 2018.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So it's been a little bit over 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
It just basically began like most people. I got
As
a
a
camera,
hobby.
started doing a hobby. I got decent. People were like, hey, how much would you charge me for photos? Family members were like, hey, can you take some photos for free or stuff like that?
Yeah.
That's how I usually...
That's
I think that's how
started?
most people get started, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how we started. You know, you start for fun, and then you're like, "Oh, people want to pay me for this."
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
pretty
gets-
much.
It gets kind of. You're like, "What? I can make money off of this?"
For anyone who doesn't know, maybe just give a rundown of like what type of photography you like to do or specialize in.
Gotcha. So I honestly just love photography, guys. I've been involved in art since ever. I mean, I remember, loving drawing, painting, changing in my high school years, I would change my PE classes for sculpture, painting, drawing, stuff like
Nice.
that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be tagging names, not getting credit because I didn't like the credit. I don't like the spotlight. So when I actually send a message to Chava, and we'll
Right.
get onto that in a little bit.
yeah, we'll definitely
Uh,
talk about that.
I was
but
like, what did I just do, man? Like, I hate being in front of the camera. This isn't me. Like, I hate the spotlight. I'm an introvert. And so when I started doing photography, it was more as a way to deal with certain personal issues. Like I have had depression since I was maybe 12, but I just didn't want to admit it, and growing in a culture where,
It's
being
taboo.
Mexican, family's like,
Yeah.
you're not supposed to cry. You're a man. I want this, stuff like that. So usually you don't say it, and then you get people who, I think it's ignorance. People do not like to admit that there are issues, mental health issues that are just as bad as when you break a bone, an arm, or you have cancer, or you have, problems on your kidney or stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so it's, there's a stigma, like, I think it's in most cultures. And then there's the fact that you feel like maybe people are going to judge you because they don't understand what you're going through.
yeah,
Yeah.
Well, they're gonna give you the typical, oh, you know what? It's not depression. I've been through that. I lost my job, or my girlfriend left me, or my boyfriend left me, and it's just this little bit of time that you're struggling with your emotions, but you're gonna be okay. Like, trust me, it's not depression. And so, I think in the beginning, it was part me not knowing what it was, and also not knowing how to explain it to people without feeling judged or
Yeah.
So you feel like
telling-
photography was like your way to
I
express
feel-
yourself, and
I feel like art in general. I feel like, and I don't know, I've noticed this, and I talk to people about it. I don't know if people who deal with depression, anxiety, stuff like that, they usually tend to be more creative because they choose art as a way to,
As an outlet.
Yeah.
outlet, like to show people.
I can see that.
Yeah. And I think, and I was talking to a friend about it, and it was like, okay, do you get creative because you deal with social anxiety, or with depression, or is it more people who tend to suffer with those things tend to be more creative? Because they tend to be a little bit more sensitive about certain issues, and the way to express them is through art.
I feel like, I mean, I don't know much about this, but
Right.
you're in your head so much that it's kind of like, it's just a way to let it all out,
Yeah.
So I would say just because I do go through like phases too, where I'm like feeling a little sad and stuff, and I feel like when I'm doing stuff, that kind of goes in, like, it takes that second place, like the main thing that you're focusing on is whatever you're working on,
Yeah.
So I can see that being an outlet.
I think it is because, like, I personally started to experienced like anxiety and depression back in like June, July of this year.
Yeah.
And I think finding an outlet is like important. You know?
Yeah.
Whatever it is.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be art for everyone. Like there's people who get into fitness because that helps them, or they're just like, I'm just gonna go on trips by myself, or doing more things on your own might be an outlet too.
Yeah.
But I definitely think art related things are super helpful.
Yeah.
For like an outlet for sure.
Yeah. And I honestly think that there's probably a correlation between, you know, like being creative and how it affects your emotional health.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
when you look at the old famous painters like Van Gogh, how many issues all those dudes had?
Most of those
and
guys,
they're like,
They're fucked up in the head.
yeah, dude, hella bad. Van Gogh was not straight in the head, and he's one of the most recognized artists like
absolutely
ever.
And then we go to Hollywood, you know, people that have even, and I know this is going to be a little bit sensitive, and I'm not trying to go to that because I honestly never felt that way. But people that take their lives, you know, and they seem super amazing people, like highly creative people, whether they're like musicians or actors, like Robin Williams. That's the first one that comes to my mind. But there's people that, you know, you see them, they're good at cheering people up. They're good at creating beautiful things. And you never imagine that they are going through so much. Yeah. You know, and I, like I said, I don't know if it's a trait of, you know, dealing with emotional issues that makes you creative, or you are creative anyway. But if you have those issues, you choose art as an outlet, you know?
I agree.
Before we go on, would you mind pointing the microphone a little more?
Yeah,
there you
fine.
go. Got it. So when you got into photography, did you have anybody helping you?
No.
Was it like you were trying to figure things out as you went?
Actually, yes. So I've always been inclined into artistic things, like, you know, drawing, painting, everything that I said. So I wasn't a stranger to photography. I even have a family member in Mexico, in Veracruz, that he's a professional photographer. Sorry guys, I'm a bit nervous. It's gonna get a little bit. It's gonna get a little bit better.
Take a breather.
Yeah,
drink some water too.
Take your
so it's gonna get a little bit better. Like I said, I don't even know what I got myself into.
You're good. You're
something
good.
I like.
You're good. Man.
I don't like the spotlight, so I'm horrible at it.
Yeah.
So I have an uncle who has been a professional photographer since ever, and I remember growing up and seeing him with his equipment. You know, he was pretty famous in the town where he lives, and doing a lot of work for schools, for, like, you know, people in the, like the mayor from the town, the equivalent of a mayor here. And so I remember seeing him with his stuff and like fantasizing about playing with the cameras, but, you know, he wouldn't let not even his kids play with them. So I would just see them. But he would let me look at the photo books. He would let me look at photo books that he had of famous photographers. So I was introduced to famous photographers from a young age, like Henri Cartier-Bresson, Vivian Mayer, Frank, all those guys. At the top of my head right now, I can't come up with the names right now, but Saul Leader, like all these famous street photographers. He was into street photography, even though most of his work was
like
portrait.
commercial stuff.
Yeah. So I remember he would let me see those books, and I would go through the books, and I would go through the pages, and I would see the pages. And I guess I was feeding myself into, you know, like photography. So when I started doing photography, I didn't have help from anybody, because also I'm socially awkward. I'm not that good at making friends.
You're well spoken now,
Yeah.
so I'll give you that.
I enjoy my solitude. And sometimes people mistake, you know, a lone wolf or someone who likes to be by themselves as, like, you know, you hate society, you don't want to deal with society. It's just, I feel more comfortable by myself.
I mean, we're all different.
Yeah,
you know?
I can hold a good conversation with someone, but there comes a time when I'm like, you know what, this doesn't feel
Time to go.
Like you're kind of like pumped out. You're like, all right, I'm done talking for the day.
Yeah.
No, I feel you.
I find that with a lot of people though, like a lot of creative people, they're just like more quiet to themselves.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah,
because I mean, an extrovert is gonna be the one most likely in front of the camera, you know.
Yeah.
They're gonna be, and then us, it's our role to like, you know, photograph and just record those memories for people, because we just like we don't want the spotlight on us.
Yeah.
But anyway, would you mind if we get into like a little bit of what happened?
Yeah. Let's do that.
So basically, I was telling Nando, I was like, I don't know. I think I kind of regret doing that, you know, because I kind of took it up on myself, you know, because I know you were clearly not talking about me. And but it was something along the lines of photographers playing it safe when it comes to like their editing, you know. And I was like, dude, I don't know if I like that. You know, somebody sent that to me and I'm like, I don't know how I feel about that. It felt a little bit like putting people down in a way, you know?
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I was
yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you know, like I saw it at night and then I woke up in the morning and I'm like, well, I have these pictures that I can post and, you know, I'm gonna be a little petty with
Address
this.
it, yeah.
So from like right now, I just want to say like, I apologize for that because I mean, that was probably not the best way to go about it.
Yeah.
But I feel like it is an important conversation to have about, you know, empowering each other. And you said that you like doing that too.
And definitely, sorry to interrupt you. That's look at my effort. I'm here in front of the camera,
dude. And we appreciate that. We appreciate that.
I saw that, and I'm like, oh God, like I can see how people could get offended by what I said. This was not intended to target anybody, but I don't have a problem seeing my message, my caption. Again, reading it from another perspective and seeing how this could have been offensive to someone.
And that's why I was a little curious to like find out if you had like people helping you from the get-go, you know? And I find it interesting that you say like you were on your own, because I was on my own too for the longest time. I was like, man, just trial and error, you know, trying these and then having it not work out, especially looking back now. I'm like, man, that was fucking horrible, you know? And I just
you see the old pictures,
and I remember looking at other photographers' photos and I was like, man, how do they do that? Like, how do they get those colors? How do they get their models to pose a certain way and stuff? I was like, I'm never gonna be that. And I remember just getting discouraged by looking at somebody else who I look up to and being like, damn.
Does that still happen to you guys?
Often.
Sometimes.
Not fully discouraged, but like you doubt yourselves?
Yeah.
At this point, I'm a little bit more secure about myself.
Right.
But a year ago.
But not based on other people's work, like just based on your own. Like,
I'm.
Oh, like personally?
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah, dude,
not
it
all the
happens.
time, but you have your moments.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially when you do this, you get to talk to a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you realize that most people have that too, you know?
Yeah.
And like, as far as like your caption and me making the post too, it was like, I don't know if I look back 2 years ago and if I was struggling as a photographer and I saw that, I would be like, man, maybe he's right. You know, maybe I should just
I gotta change my way of
And you know, that's why I did what I did. But I'm kind of glad that it turned out to maybe have you here, and then you know, we can talk about it and we can just together empower people.
Definitely.
I mean, I definitely get like where he's coming from, and that's kind of how I felt. Like, obviously I didn't necessarily address it, but for me, I saw it and I was just like, I saw it as a way of like anyone who might be struggling to find their style or find their look or find their place as a photographer,
right,
could see that and kind of be like, why are you like, oh, so I shouldn't be doing this? Rather than like, do what you want to do, you know what I mean? Like, if that's how you like it,
right,
it's okay.
Right.
Like, you don't have to.
Yeah.
Like, photography has no rules. Like, you can take pictures however you want, make them look however you want, because it's just your own thing, you know? So that was the thing that like kind of bugged me about it, is I was like, I can't, like, I put myself as like an up and coming photographer who might look to you as someone that I admire or I like his work, and then being like, damn, I kind of like the desaturated look, but this photographer that I like is calling it safe, so that makes me feel some type of way. And like that was my whole thing with it, is like I could see it rubbing people the wrong way like that. And that's what we wanted to talk about, is like, where did the kind of like come from to you know, put it out there, or what made you feel like, okay, this is what I want to caption my picture to?
Right. So absolutely. And I love this. The fact that you guys, you know, get to tell not only me, but people in general, okay, so this is how I felt. It may not have been the best way to address it, but I feel like I had to react, you know, and it's good to give.
It was a reaction. It was a reaction more than anything.
It's good to give context to people so that people know why, not only did I say that, but why did you respond? Why did Nando reshare that on his story? Because, okay, so let me tell you how it happened from my side. Most of the stuff that I put on my account, it's either, you know, photos for Johnny or, you know, or Jamie, and that's it. Or I like reading. I like literature a lot, And I have this habit of basically the equivalent of a Christian person saving verses from books and then, like highlighting them or something like that. So I usually write them down because I find them beautiful. Like, I'm like, okay, so this writer wrote this very beautiful quote and I find it like my Bible verse. So I write it down. And sometimes when I'm posting stuff, a lot of my work, I don't know if you noticed, because I know Nando follows me. We don't follow each other. They usually have quotes from literature.
Yeah, they're usually like longer captions.
Yeah, so they're either in the picture or in the caption. And sometimes it's not even related to the set. It's just my way of dealing with awkwardness, like the awkwardness that I have sometimes when I'm talking to people that I haven't met, that I don't know how to react. I don't know what I'll say. And then I have this post, and I don't know if it's ever happened to any of you guys. If whoever gets to watch this, or you guys, you probably don't. But there are people who struggle more with the caption.
Oh yeah,
we both do.
Yeah, I suck at them, bro.
It'll be like pictures for Chava.
Yeah, I just put pictures for and tag the person.
Yeah, that's me too.
I'm terrible at captions.
Captions are hard, bro.
And since my account is not just portraits, I do have an account where I have most of my portraits, but I'm the most horrible procrastinator that you could ever meet. Like I say, okay, I have 7 sets that I need to share. I'll do it tomorrow.
Then you just don't.
It never happens.
Yeah.
So, but I do have an account where I'm trying to put all my portrait work. But most of my stuff, most of my work, whether it's my own personal street work, landscape, portrait photography, it's mainly on my accounts. And so my struggle is always trying to find a way to fit all of it. And make it consistent. And I think that's the biggest problem with me. My consistency is not. Like, it's especially with the cohesive look that a professional photographer or someone who aspires to be professional, and having that cohesive look, like everything needs to look more consistent. You know?
Yeah, you have a feed that matches itself.
I don't have that. Like, I literally just post anything. And so back to the posters. I'm not thinking of anybody when I'm posting. I'm not thinking about like, okay, let me see who's going to get affected by my post. Let me see who's going to get affected by my caption. I'm just going to post. My way of dealing with awkwardness with captions is usually, I open one of my notebooks, find a quote from a book that I loved, and put it on my photos. Most of the time it's like that. It's almost never engaging. Like, I know some people are really good at posting engaging posts, captions, like, they start talking about their day. They even ask for like a recommendation of
a whole paragraph.
Yeah.
I
can't do that.
I could never do that.
Yeah,
no.
I can't do that. Like, I read articles on how to like be more engaging with your audience, and I suck at it. So it's usually captions or just photos for Maria or for Anna or for John, and that's it. So I have this set. It's a quinceañera shoot that I did recently.
Beautiful pictures, by the way.
Thank you. And so I'm going through the images, and I like so many of the photos from that set, from the quinceañera. I don't do many quinceañeras. And so I like the photos, and I'm having a hard time trying to do 10 only because, Instagram gives you only 10.
Yeah.
I don't abuse it. Most of the time keep it like 3 or 4.
I feel like I can't ever post less than 8 because it's just
I post all 10 every time, all 10.
Oh yeah, that's Chava's thing.
Oh really?
If you go through all his posts, it's always 10 pictures.
Always 10 pictures.
And you know what I do?
I'll do like 8 to 9, sometimes 10, but yeah.
And this goes back to me procrastinating. Like, I like a set. I know that I can do 10, but I'm like, maybe I can do a second set of the same photos.
I see.
Like split it up.
It never happens. Like, well, it happens sometimes, but not as much as I wish. So I'm having a hard time. This is one of those times when I'm actually happy with how everything. Well, I'm always happy, but I'm super excited about how everything came out. And I'm having a hard time finding 10 images to share. And so I get excited, and the artist ego, the one that we all have, like I said in the comment that I left on your post, we all have it, but some of us don't like to admit it because you are taught to be correct all the time, or do not sound pretentious, do not sound self-conceited, do not sound self-absorbed, because what are people going to think? And I think it's okay to keep your ego in check, but you cannot lose your ego. Like, I think it's the ego, the healthy ego on an artist, whether it's a musician, a photographer, a videographer, anybody who does art. They have an ego. They have a big ego. And it's okay to have that big ego because that big ego gives you confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're confident, you know what you're creating is good. You know you're going to give them some good stuff. The problem is when you cannot control that ego and that ego comes out and stays out and runs your life, runs the show the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm aware of my ego. I know that I'm constantly editing on my own. And as I'm editing my work, I'm like, oh, this is some good shit. Like,
This is good,
Giovanni, you're fucking good at this shit. You know, like I keep on hyping myself up and I get so excited. I'm like, I'm on top of the world. No one can touch me, blah, blah, blah. It's all bullshit. And I don't mean to say that I'm better than anybody. But in that moment, the ego is constantly telling me, hey, you're fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're good and you're showing it and your clients are going to be happy with what you're giving them. I'm not trying to say that I'm proud of my ego. But I know that I have it. And I know that most of us have it.
I think everybody, no matter if they're an artist or not, has an ego. I just think from my perspective of the artist ego is that, sure, I mean, I have my days where, you know, I take some pictures and I'm like, wow, these are dope, you know, and I get stoked or whatever. But maybe I just keep it in check enough to never go put it out. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely.
Like I wouldn't go to Instagram and be like,
brag about it. Like
show my ego in a way, because to me, I just don't feel comfortable doing it. And it's not really a part of me that I want to have out there. It's like, I would rather just have that feeling and the ego come to me just myself and just keep it to me, you know, or like to a close friend, like, hey dude, like I'm hella happy with these or something. It usually
is like that.
You know what I mean?
It's within your close circle.
Yeah.
You know, egos come out when you're comfortable. Like in my case, it's when I'm alone or when I'm with a friend that's also into photography and we talk shit about each other. We even become judgmental of other people's work because we all do that, you know, in a way. So it usually comes out like that for me.
Sometimes I'm kind of like in the same page as Nando. I'm like, well, these are good, but like, you know, I feel like I can keep it in check as well.
Yeah.
The times though where lately it's been kind of hitting me a little, it's when I'm out doing whatever, like I'm shopping or whatever, and then people come up to me and they're like, oh, you're Chava, like you're the famous Chava, right?
When they recognize
like, damn.
you or something?
I'm like, damn. That's when I'm like, fuck. That's when that kind of like my ego comes out. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but I'll let you go on. I'll let you continue.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, and so ego doesn't always come out the way it came out this time when I did my caption. Because, you know, I would say in this case it was my ego. It took over, wrote the caption. It was based on a meme. I'm pretty sure you guys know the meme. It was very popular in Twitter back in 2019. You know, it's basically you're self-aggrandizing yourself. You're telling, you know, you're doing.
Is that where the "we are not the same thing" came from?
Thing,
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was big back in 2019, and it became popular again. They're using a photo of what's his name, Giancarlo Esposito, the one guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I know what meme you're talking about.
Gideon from The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
So subconsciously, because of how proud I felt at the moment with my images and not thinking of bringing anybody down, but rather just, you know, my ego came out to play and said things or took care of saying things for me, despite the fact that I wasn't in full control of it, before I even go on to explain about what happened with the caption. And now that we're talking about ego, but ego doesn't always come out in the way it came out in my case. Sometimes it manifests in other ways. You don't see it though, but it comes out in a way that you respond to what I said. You get me? Like I said something and your ego says, hey, wait a minute. Like this isn't
like you cause a reaction.
I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that.
And
I feel like it's more of a reaction, right? Like your ego comes out as a reaction to something.
I'm actually not going to speak for you, but I remember you said earlier, you know, I'm sorry because now that I think about it, I don't know if that was the best way to react. Maybe that was your ego.
Maybe it was.
Maybe it was
I can
responding.
See that. I can see that. Because I took, like I said, I took it up on myself because I'm like, I had desaturated colors at some point. You know, I don't know. Right now, I'm like transitioning a little bit, but I can kind of see some of my pictures being like fitting with your caption, you know, like playing it safe. That's why I was like, man, what the hell?
But if you think about it, it could have been ego.
Yeah, it could have been.
You know what?
Yeah.
Let me handle this one.
Because I was a little bothered by it. I'm not gonna lie.
I think for me, I didn't take it personal on my editing style. I took it the way I told you.
Yeah,
is that I'm like,
I see it.
That's just not really cool to put out for people who might be looking to you as someone that they enjoy.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? Like I wasn't like, oh, you're attacking me, bro, because I mean, I'll admit I don't like to oversaturate my stuff, because I've never have. You know, I used to hate my old editing style where they were super bright.
Yeah.
But I can definitely appreciate it when people do. Like, I'm not gonna be like, oh, your shit's too colorful or something. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it was like, the whole thing for me was just, it just kind of was something like, if someone sees that, they're gonna kind of be like, I don't really want to approach this dude, because like,
gotcha,
you know, like the ego thing, or they might be like, oh, this dude has a huge ego because he's knocking down other people's editing style. Like maybe I don't want to go to him. And at least like on my part, I've always wanted it to be very welcoming with everyone, which is why I would never want to put anything out there like that to make someone be like, oh, Nando thinks he's the shit, I'm not gonna ask him for anything, or like talk to him about whatever, you know. And it's like, that's just kind of where I came about it for it. You know, it was just like, someone starting out might see that and not really feel a good way about it. So that was what bothered me. It was just like, it wasn't necessarily like, oh, you're attacking me because I desaturate my stuff.
But I can see what you're saying. I can see.
And I actually find that interesting though, because here's the deal. Now that you're talking about like how others might perceive it, especially new people who are not that sure about their style, or that they're still finding their style, right? Or that they still they look up to you, and now they're like, oh my god, this guy.
Or maybe they like the look, and they're like, well, I guess this is wrong. But I like it, you know.
So I see that, and the thing is here, that may leave the wrong impression about me. What's interesting is I'm the total opposite of that. I'm super approachable. Like the fact that I said I struggle with social relationships, the fact that I said that, you know, I'm not that good at socializing with people. I'm really good at socializing online. Like I can hold huge conversations with people, you know, and talk about different points of views. I can go out of my way to help somebody. And I know that there's going to be 1, 2, or 3, or even more. And this may sound like, again, ego talking, but there's going to be quite a few people who can say by themselves that they have seen how I get out of my way to help them out. And maybe it's because, like we said earlier, I had nobody to help me. You know, I literally had nobody to go to. I didn't grow up in a group of creative people like some of you may have, not you, like all of you guys who may
just
watch
in general,
this. Who happen to be in a group of creative people. You know, you got your friend who has a camera and this other friend who has a camera. And they're constantly making trips to Donner, to Lake Tahoe, to, you know, downtown. And you see them and you're like, okay, I need to fit in. Or like, I actually like what they're doing and I want to be part of it. And you're blessed because you got people who have the knowledge, who have the skills, you know where to go to. In my case, I had nobody. And one thing that I struggled with when I began was I once asked a photographer about a location. It wasn't even for me. It was for a client. And that's why I sent you a message. And I said, I understand some people don't like sharing. And he was like, I'm sorry, I cannot share my locations.
Yeah, we've talked about that topic too. Like gatekeeping.
Yeah, gatekeeping.
Yeah, I don't know. And I definitely disagree with it, but not everybody likes to be that way, you know?
It left a wrong impression on me. I'm like, okay, there is no community around here. And back in the day, when I wasn't that old and I was in shape and I was into the gym and stuff like that, I was really into the gym, but it was the same approach. I wasn't the kid who would go to the biggest dude in the gym and start asking him questions. I would actually just do my own research. You know, YouTube, Google, buy me a book, I'll read a book, and I do my own homework, I create my own workouts. And then when I would know something, I would actually share it with my friends. I remember back in the day when I was into the gym, I was in good shape. I would even help friends get in good shape because I find pleasure into sharing what I know. So this wrong perception or this misconception of people in this case saying, oh, this guy's not approachable. Oh, you know what? This guy is judging. This guy is making me feel bad about my style. Like, I don't want to go to him. I left the wrong impression with my caption because I'm the opposite. Anything that I know, back in the day when I was into the gym, and now that I'm into photography, I almost find this urge of wanting to share it with people. And it wasn't until maybe 8-9 months ago when I started to feel what you guys already experienced a lot, getting comments, getting DMs from people saying, hey man, your work's amazing. Could you
like
help me
asking
out?
you for advice and stuff?
Yeah, I need some advice. Like, what can I do? What camera is a good camera? And I'm not even subjective. I'm always constantly, sorry, man, I see your Sony cameras and I'm like, Sony, I got to say something about Sony.
What are you shooting with?
I shoot with Nikon.
Oh,
since
Nikon?
the beginning. Yeah.
Right, we can fight right now, bro. If you
You're a Nikon shooter? That's a red flag. No, I'm just kidding.
No, but yeah, actually, people, say like, hey, what's a good camera? And even then, I'm not subjective. I'll tell them, look, I've been shooting with Nikon my whole life. Well, 3 years.
And I mean, as long
your
as
whole photography career.
But, and I wouldn't change. But that's because that's me. I get comfortable with something. I don't want to change. I don't want to try different things if it works for me. I began with Nikon. I had a crop sensor camera for like 3-4 months. And then I moved up to full frame. And then full frame was where it was at.
Yeah.
So people who say stuff like, oh, you know what? I had a Canon, but then I moved to Sony and the quality is amazing. Well, actually, it's the full frame.
Yeah, it's the full frame.
It's
You know what I
full
mean?
frame, yeah.
Like you had a Canon.
Especially with newer cameras.
You had an entry-level Canon. You had an entry-level Fuji or Nikon. It was horrible at focusing at night. You moved on to an amazing camera, an A7 III that focuses on pitch black darkness, But you're giving the credit to Sony, but in reality, you should give the credit to the fact that now you are dealing with a professional camera that people use, and they make a living out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when it comes to that, within my circle, and, there's a stereotype. A Sony shooter will just say, hey, I shoot Sony, all that.
I shoot in pitch darkness.
Yeah, I mean, there's one for all of them.
Yeah,
like
all of us.
Like
I feel like
I'm like one of the only ones who shoots Fuji here.
But let's go through it. So
Yeah,
Fuji,
okay.
So
it's like,
Fuji, it's like,
I got the
you
film
love
look,
film
bro.
photos.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I got the film look. I like my camera looks like a film camera, and it made me love film. Like there's a photographer.
And then Canon is like, oh, my colors are sick,
the
bro.
skin tones are
The
amazing.
skin tones are amazing. Yeah, Canon is skin tones.
They don't even have one for us. Like, they
Yeah.
forget about us.
The Nikon is always like I like to take pictures of animals and landscape. That's like the cliche Nikon
you're a
thing.
50, 60-year-old photographer.
Yeah, everyone
And then
shits on
Sony,
Nikon,
it's like,
dude.
oh, low light video,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah.
Dynamic range,
Ever camera has one, which is
Yeah,
hilarious,
yeah.
honestly.
That is pretty funny.
There's a photographer, his thing is Volandes. I don't know if you guys know who
I
he is.
do.
But
He
he
has
made the
hilarious videos.
memes. Did you ever see
Yeah.
those? Where they're like Canon shooters be like, Nikon shooters be
Yeah.
like, and he did one for all of them, and they're like spot on.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because when he
Hilarious.
made the
Yeah.
Fuji one, I low-key felt attacked. I was like, damn. Because he said something I said the minute I bought my first Fuji camera,
Yeah.
where I was like, dude, I just love how this looks like a film camera. And the colors are so film look. And he
Yeah.
literally said that in his video. I was
Yeah.
like, fuck.
Yeah.
I was
That's
like,
true.
okay, he got me with that one. You know what I mean?
So
That's
within my
hilarious.
circle, because I know that within your circle, you actually you talk shit, you say things that you know that it's okay because it's your friends, it's the people that you're comfortable with, and you are okay with comments like that. Within my circle, we make jokes about our brands. Like I have a friend who shoots Sony, and the first time I met him, he was like, "Oh, you know what? The files are amazing. Like you don't understand." And I was like, "Bro, I have good files." He's like, "Oh no, but the dynamic range." And I pull out my phone. I'm like, "Bro, I have the same amount of dynamic range that you do."
They try to bring
Yeah.
out the specs.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but it became this like friendly competition where we're always talking shit about our brands. And that's within my circle. But if people reach out to me and say, "Hey, what's a good brand? I'm starting. I like your work. Your work's amazing. Like, how long have you been doing it?" And that, it feels good because now you feel like you have this responsibility.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
To
You
give
got-
them a good
yeah.
answer back. Yeah.
So you have this responsibility, and now it's upon you to make sure that what you have learned, whether it was on your own or somebody help you, you need to make sure that you can pass it on to other
Pass it
people.
on to others.
So when that happens, I'm not subjective at all. Like, look, I shoot with Nikon, but that's because I shot with Nikon since the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And I only shot a crop sensor for like 3 months because I was doing so much homework that I knew that the quality was not because of the brand, but because it was a crop sensor.
Yeah.
So I can basically work with my brand. I love the ergonomics. I know what I'm doing. I have the lenses that I need for my work. And I just, being a father of 2 girls, a husband, a full-time employee, and doing this on the side, I am grateful that I'm able to do what I love, which is photography, whether it is for a client or just for me.
For fun,
Yeah. So because of that, I'm not the kind of guy that's going to come out and make a blog and be, hey guys, so I'm switching to Canon, just because I can. Like, realistically, I cannot switch systems in my position, as a...
Yeah, because then you got to start all over.
Yeah.
And then you got to buy glass, and then glass is not...
Cheap.
It's not cheap.
Good glass is not cheap.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm very, I'm a very minimalistic when it comes to glass. Like, I only work with a 35, an 85. I used to be a 50 kind of guy.
That's where I started.
Yeah. And then I got into 35. It took me a little bit of getting used to it because you got so much room on the, everywhere. And then you got to work more with your composition. You got to be more creative with the composition. Like with an 85, you just go to 1.8 or 1.4, blow the background.
Yeah.
And the clients are like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Sharp,
yeah. But with the 35, you are more forced to find the surroundings that are going to help you with your photo.
They're just a little wider.
Yeah. So I'm very minimalistic when it comes to gear, but I have good glass and 2 bodies. And so I, as a father, as a husband, as someone who has worked hard for my equipment, I don't find it practical to just switch gear just because I want to show the world that I can,
Yeah.
And back to the subject, I tell the people, look, this is what I shoot with. You guys, I talk a lot for somebody who doesn't like to be alone. So I'm telling you, fine, I choose to be a loner, but...
You make these... this is fine, dude. This is what it's all about.
Okay.
Good.
So I tell them, this is why. But honestly, realistically, Sony has the best autofocus in the industry.
I mean, that's a fact.
Yeah, it's a fact. If you're not really into editing and you want to do JPEGs, Fuji has no rivals. Like, the JPEGs are beautiful. I'm in love with photography. Just because I shoot with Nikon doesn't mean I'm not informed about the other bodies.
But when you help people, feels nice, right?
It feels nice. Feels really amazing. Nice. And it even feels more amazing. I'm sorry, Chow, that I
No, you're fine.
It feels more amazing that I don't try to shove my feelings, my perceptions, my paradigms into other people and tell them Nikon is the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, you tell them what they're all about and then make them make their decision from there.
Yeah, and sometimes my wife's like, you're sending them a freaking Bible verse. But I'm like, it's detailed stuff. Like, look, man, if you want to shoot Nikon, you're going to get amazing color science that people don't even know, because usually color science and they say Canon. If you want great skin tones, go with Canon. If you want the best autofocus in the system, go with Sony. Yeah. If you want good JPEGs, go with Fuji. But I go on and give them a large message, and like Chava said, it feels amazing.
It feels really nice,
and it even feels more amazing that I didn't shove my ideals,
your brand,
my paradigms into other people. I didn't say, hey, don't do teal and orange, don't do these saturated colors, do like I do. I usually do that. They ask me for locations, and I take pride in to be like, this is here.
Yeah,
I tell people to send me their number, and I send them a pin.
yeah.
I'm like, I don't know how to describe where it's at, but go here, and you'll see it.
Yeah,
I find that especially with me learning things by just trial and error.
Yeah,
I feel really, really good telling somebody something that took me like months to figure it out. I'm like, oh, here's how you do it. Don't stress out. And we have a friend in our friend group that he started like a year ago too. And we kind of started hanging out and stuff. And you can see he's progressing really, really fast. Just because he's like around
us a lot.
Yeah.
And
or
we
just
can
people who do it or have been doing it longer than him, which I think is important to have a friend group that way, because not everyone, like you said, we didn't get to do that, but now we can be the ones to do it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And some people might have like this, I didn't get help, so I'm not going to help nobody. And it's like,
I hate that mentality.
Yeah, me too.
And it's everywhere. It's also
healthy.
like in families. Like, hey, you know what? My parents didn't give me anything, so
Yeah,
do the same
it
with
doesn't
your
mean
kids.
you can't
Yeah,
help
it's like,
someone
my
else.
parents
Yeah.
never gave me gifts growing up, so I'm not giving no gifts. Like, okay.
Yeah.
break the cycle, you know.
Yeah, like why
yeah,
would you want to stay in the same
exactly.
cycle?
Yeah.
It's annoying, dude.
Yeah.
And the other thing I was gonna say, this also goes to show how social media is just not the reality of things, you know?
Yeah.
Because you seem like a friendly guy, you seem like a cool guy, and you
Another
know,
reason why I kind of wanted you to come in and speak is that, like I said, if someone got the wrong perception,
Yeah.
now they see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, guys, that's actually why I took the bravery into going into your post. Well, my friend sends me his post. And he's like, looks like you offended someone. And so, because, you know, most people follow you guys and some of them follow
Like
me.
a mutual followers.
Yeah. So then they send me your post and I read it. And I'm like, okay, so there is no doubt. This is
yeah,
directed
there's no
towards my
doubt. I
caption.
made it pretty clear.
Yeah. You made it for me. But the thing is, I didn't make it for you. And the thing is, I didn't make it for anybody. But as a responsible human, I need to take out my mental lens that I have of how I see the world and read it from a neutral perspective and see how it could affect somebody else.
See everyone else's side, yeah.
So then I read it and I'm like, yes, this could go wrong. So I left it there, didn't react right away. And then I follow Nando, and then he posts on his story. He's like, "It's the caption for me." So I'm like, "Okay." So two
So he
people
got
have
two
been
and he's
triggered.
like, oh.
2 people have been triggered by it, and these guys have reach, you know. And the fact that they have reach, it may reach people, and it may feed this narrative that wasn't even there to begin with, you know. And I'll be honest, the second part of the caption is what actually made me react, because now. This sounds like an assumption. I don't know if you're going to see it like that. Saying, you know what, let's not bring each other down. Almost as if saying you're bringing people down. But then in my case, I'm like, I didn't mean to bring anybody down.
Yeah.
So I could go on and I can do two things. I can do nothing, brush it off. It's social media. Or the least responsible one, I can go on and start this Cold War on this stupid rivalry that doesn't even need to exist.
Right.
Yeah. So I'm like, I'm not gonna do either. You know, I'm gonna be responsible. I'm gonna own up to what I said. I'm actually gonna send a message, leave a comment, a detailed comment on what exactly happened, why I said what I said. And by the way, and this is probably, it's a good thing that now I get a chance to explain it a little bit better, because maybe earlier when I talked about my ego, it could have sounded like as if I was justifying my ego. Like saying, no, my ego did that. Sorry, guys, it wasn't me.
Which I think is what the comment gave off of, if I'm being honest.
Yeah.
And I think, I mean, some people also mentioned it to me of like, I get where he's coming from, but like ego isn't an excuse.
No, yeah.
Type of thing. So when you're saying this, I'm like, I mean, go ahead, like elaborate on what you're going to say, you know?
So, you know, explaining what happened and explaining how, look, I got excited. I'm a human. To say that I don't make mistakes and I don't say things that I don't even think. To have anybody here that's, let's just say, somehow public figures that are known by people and pretend that you don't ever mess up, it's also bad, because you're trying to sell something that you're not. Like, you're a human. You make mistakes. You make comments. You probably made the wrong impression to a customer, to a client. You know, you probably said something on your podcast that probably offended people.
Yeah,
you
I mean,
know,
it sometimes happens accidentally, you know, and that's why it's good to address it if someone brings it up, type of thing.
So then, talking about my ego may have been either explained it, not because I'm trying to justify that my ego said it for me, but it could also leave the impression, oh, okay, so you're proud that you have an ego. And
like,
so,
oh, you're egotistic.
Yeah. So basically what I said is, as an artist, we all have an ego.
Yeah, and we all make mistakes too.
Yeah.
Right now you said that we have a reach. And sometimes I forget about that, you know? So I'm like, damn, people really pay attention to what I post and what I say.
Yeah.
And if thinking back to when I made the post, I was like, well, I have a reach. I can be a voice for people, you know?
Yeah.
And now it's kind of hitting me like, it can also go in a negative way. I have a reach, and, you know, I might say something that makes this person look bad. You know.
Or you have the people who like you or admire your thing.
They're gonna go and defend you. Yeah.
Which is what. Like,
I'm
when
pretty
anyone
sure that,
mentioned it to me, I was like, I don't want you guys going after the dude. Like, let him explain himself. Because at the end of the day, I'm like, it could just be a huge misunderstanding.
Yeah.
And when you say, like, we have reach, that's when it shows. Like, when people are addressing it to you and being like, yo, what's this about? And I'm like, well, that's something we're going to talk about. And then just wait till the episode comes out, and then you can hear it yourself. But don't be like, oh, screw this dude, or I'm blocking, or I'm like, no, it's just, that's why we're talking about it.
And that's the beautiful thing, being open to talk about things that you do, and reaching that maturity where instead of trying to justify everything, because I'm not justifying what I said on the comment that I left on your post,
and I like your response,
and over here when I said it earlier, and I may have sensed that you guys probably were a little bit defensive. We're like, no, I don't think about the same about ego. So I'm at a stage in my life where I make a mistake. I have no issue saying, look, man,
like, my bad,
I fucked up.
Yeah.
And I think that the best way to apologize is to say, I apologize. And there's no buts. But it's because you said this. But it's because, because you made me mad. Yeah. Well, it was based on a reaction from what you said. No, I messed up. I made a mistake. Like, this isn't actually how I see the world. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to behave perfectly all the time. And
well, yeah, we all make mistakes.
And if I end up saying things, rather than trying to figure out a creative way to say, no, please forgive me. This was my ego. This isn't me. No. Yes, I said it. Yeah, I took off my paradigm. I took off my personal lens. We all have this personal lens how we see the world. It's basically a set of ideas. It's the way we see the world. And there's this saying that says, we don't see the world as it is, we see it as we are. Most of us are not even aware of that. So it's based on your family, where you grew up with, your life experiences, the friends that you have, and you actually make friends based on your paradigms, on your beliefs, on your ideas. Obviously, you don't want to have a friend that doesn't have anything in common with you. The problem with our paradigms is that most of the time we forget that is just our own personal lens of viewing the world.
And not everyone's going to see
it. And not everyone's going to see it the same. So in my case, my paradigm, even though it was ego, for my ego to speak for me, there must be some truth in what I said. There must be some truth in, like, when you do a habit, say like people that bite up with their nails, something that you do unconsciously. You have done it so many times. It's so within you that you do it without even thinking of it. So in my case, there is some truth into what I said. Not as in like, let me offend people. Let me tell people I'm better because I do things in a certain way. Here's the truth. I favor color. I favor contrast. I like bold edits sometimes. That doesn't mean I'm trying to like force anybody into liking that. But I do that. And so my ego gets proud, comes out. I'm happy about my work. It speaks for me, but it's not speaking nonsense. The whole part about like, I'm so happy about my colors. That's because I'm into colors. You know what I mean? I'm into colors. I'm into contrast. I love this. I'm proud of this. It didn't come out that way. But if I said it, however I said it, it's because it's within me. I believe it. It's part of my paradigm. It's how I see the world.
Yeah.
And so when your paradigm does not align with the paradigm of others, when your mental lens is different than the others, like in this case, you guys, you see that, and it's your paradigm saying, well, actually, I don't agree. You know what I mean? Like, I don't agree. I don't agree with what you said. I don't like that. I like my style, and I'm going to keep doing my style. So then it's our paradigms fighting with each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it doesn't mean that like you're saying, that your paradigm is not real, or is not,
I mean, I don't have an issue with you making color for photos. Right. Like, nothing about the post was me like, you think you're cool because you make colorful stuff. It was just like, to be like brutally honest, it was just kind of like a douchey caption. And you know what I mean?
Yeah,
and it was like, Where did that come from? Like, I know you like colorful stuff, and that's fine. You know, like, it looks great, cool. Right. And there's people who have no color, and I'm like, that looks cool. That you know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it's fine. It was just more of like.
But if we're being honest, though, did the part about desaturated tones and dull color, did that hit home for any of you guys? In a way, let's be honest though.
It kind of did for me.
Okay.
Like if I said, if I look back, then I can see how I was kind of doing that back in like not too long ago. You know.
I mean, for me, it was. I still prefer not overly bright, but that's not what bothered me about it.
Right.
It was just like the way it came about.
Yeah.
Like, because I'll never allow anyone to make me feel attacked about the way I do anything because I like to do things the way I like to do it. So it's like if I just have this mentality of like not everyone's always gonna like what you do.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Yeah.
You know, like some people probably look at my pictures and they're like, those are shit. And that's fine. You can have an opinion. Yeah. Like, if you don't like it, art is extremely subjective, as you know.
Oh, yeah. Everything in life is subjective.
It's fine. You know, like, I've heard some people who are like, oh, this person said they didn't go to you because your things aren't like this. And I'm like, that's okay. That's why there's other photographers who do different things. Like, I'm not going to get offended.
Yeah, for people watching, I actually encourage people to go with whoever they actually like.
Yeah,
sometimes I get people... Like, sometimes I get people that come in here and they're like, yeah, I noticed your style is this way, this and that. And they're like, can you maybe switch it up for mine? I'm like,
why did you come to me?
Yeah, don't come to me.
That's like if someone came to you who you're a fan of big color and they're like, I want no color. You're going to look at them like, why did you come to me then, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's where I'm coming from. It's like, go to someone who matches the look that you want. Like, editing is huge in taking a picture. Because that's what attracts people is the look of the photo. Obviously, there's many other things like the way you compose it, the way you pose people, like all that has its own role. But it's like people are always gonna go to you because of how your picture looks, like, and
they should go for
exactly. And it's like, why are you gonna approach a photographer that does not do that? Yeah. Like, have you ever seen me post anything how you are specific about that look? Like, don't come to me for that. Come to me because you like how mine looks. You know? Yeah. And I mean, that's just an advice for the watchers. Yeah. If you're hiring a photographer, explore your avenues and see who has what you like, you know?
Ultimately, the clients decide, you know? We can talk about it all day, but the clients are going to go with whoever they like.
And now let's be honest. I mean, our styles are not that far apart from each other.
They're not.
They're similar, but different.
They're really not that
especially
different,
the portrait part. Like, my portrait work is not groundbreaking. It's not like, oh my God, it's so different. Like, wow. There's subtle changes. Like, I might add more contrast. It might be a little bit more bold, punchy, but it's still
contrasty and colorful.
Yeah, but it derives from the same
and from sharp the same too.
Yeah, from the same the same ideal. Like, you want something that's timeless. That's gonna look good today. It's gonna look good tomorrow. That look good. Yeah. 2-3 years ago, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And most of us started with presets. I remember one podcast episode where Chava said that one of his turning points or one of his most memorable points was when he first got a set of presets, and he was like, "Wow, this looks amazing." That happened to me too.
Yeah.
And that's also another thing where people ask me, "Hey, how do you edit?" I'll be honest. Look, there's these presets.
Yeah.
I give them the brand. I give them the pack, and I'm like, "Look, it doesn't work necessarily exactly how I want. I usually modify it."
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, dude, when I first got those presets, I was like, man, this kind of finally look like I want them to look, you know? But eventually, start off with presets and then eventually you're going to get your own look.
You do, yeah.
Because every time I try to switch it, like I make some adjustments and end up back where I was in the first place. And I was like, yeah. And then the other thing that I wanted to mention is like, we tend to focus a lot on like the technical aspects of photography, but if you want to run this as a business, there's so much other stuff that you need to focus on too, you know? Yeah. For example, just being friendly and approachable. That's gonna like go a long way for you. Yeah. Like sometimes I don't know if this is true, but I feel like people sometimes don't even care about what edits you put on the photo as long as it looks okay, you know?
And let me add one more thing. We're talking about like principles. We're talking about like making sure that we are nice and everything. A lot of times they don't care how you are. They just want good treatment and they want the photos that they were expecting. Like, you can still have your ideals, your beliefs, and not align with my clients. Most of the my ideals do not align with my clients. We never talk about those things while there. We're just talking about.
You just have like a random conversation.
Yeah. And I go home and I'm like, yeah, you think totally different like me, but neither I try to convince you into my beliefs, and you didn't either.
Yeah.
And I left a really good impression. You came back to me again and again and again.
Mm-hmm.
And so this whole idea of I can only be friends with the people that share my beliefs.
No.
It's not.
No.
You know, and also this whole idea that, okay, because I'm a photographer on my account, I can see from your side. Like I can see that Nando and Chava, you guys keep your profile very professional. It's portraits. I think he has a second account, but he barely even touches it.
He does.
Try to use it a little more, but I'm a little inconsistent.
Every
too.
6 months.
It's for like just film stuff. It's literally just film photos that I take, or iPhone pictures, or random stuff. But I'm inconsistent.
And I saw Chava, and it's nothing but portraits, beautiful portraits. Anybody comes on his account, and they're like, "Wow, I want this guy to take my photos." You know, does that mean that he has to go on Twitter and be careful with what he says?
No.
No, or if he didn't have that account where it was mainly just portraits, and he had a healthy mixture of streets and other stuff, and he just decided that he wanted to show off his shoes, show off his new lens that he got, does that make him douchey? No, because he still has the freedom to express himself. You know, like you can still leave the professional side aside. You know?
I mean, Twitter for me is personal. Anyone who follows me there knows I don't tweet anything about photos.
I try to be. Again, I don't even know how I got this far, being a father of two, and working full time and doing this on the weekends. Which, by the way, if my wife ever gets to see this video, thank you, because you have been so supportive to me. You know, that's nice. I look at you guys. I look at young people, and I'm like, this is my advice to them. You go out there and fucking kill it. You go devour the world because you can. Yeah. You know, because you don't have that many things on your way. There are times
different when you become a family man.
Yeah,
and I've heard that from any photographer who has a family. You know, because you gotta make time for your family. You know, and like we all know,
and I think
it's more of a weekend job.
Yeah,
I've seen you out there taking photos. Like you're like I see you a lot. I see you a lot out there, and I'm like, man, I didn't even know that you were married and you had kids. Yeah.
And it's been difficult because she didn't meet me as a photographer. Like this just came out 3 years ago. I've been married for 13 years.
Oh, so it was definitely down the line.
Yeah. And so it was definitely difficult. It was difficult. And I can only see how people who are not married but are into a serious relationship, how this can affect your relationship. You guys are shooting almost every single weekend.
Yeah.
You guys are editing most of the time. It gets in the way. And I'm pretty sure that there are relationships that do not succeed because of that.
I'm going to keep it 100 for all the viewers. It's not that easy to date a photographer.
Oh, no.
I'm going to let you know that.
Hey, right I can attest to that.
Like if you date one, thank you. But it's not that easy.
Yeah.
Because we're very busy all the time. So,
dude, it's been a struggle to me, even dating, you know?
Yeah.
It gets in the way.
Yeah.
It gets in the way, but...
And it just shows how good you are, how good your work is.
Thank you, man.
It shows that you have the time to put into your work.
Do a lot more than more people can.
Yeah. If you were half-assing it, I don't think it would be as good. I don't think you would have that many clients. I don't think you would have that reach. But because you decided to dedicate so much time into it, that might hurt some personal relationships.
Yeah.
And I can only be empathetic with a lot of the photographers who are not married or are into a relationship, and I'm like, if it's working, guys, be grateful for that person that's supporting you.
Yeah.
And if it's not working, I understand. You're just trying to kill it out there. You're just trying to.
You're on grind mode.
Yeah.
All right, man. I think that was a great conversation.
Okay.
Yeah, we had a good time, dude.
Is there anything else you want to say or follow up with?
Yes, there is. Basically, we changed subjects when we were talking about the paradigms that we all have, right? And so, what I was trying to say with the paradigms is that we're all going to have them, and we're going to react based on how we
see things.
Yeah, based on how we see things, right? And we're going to get defensive when another person's paradigm does not coincide with ours, right?
Which I think is fine.
Which I think is fine. But the beautiful thing is about when you recognize that you have your paradigms and you can remove them for a minute, or you be aware that there are other people who think differently, right? That there are other people who don't share the same beliefs as you. As long as you remain respectful, we can coexist.
Yeah, we can talk about it too. You don't have to have the same ideas as everyone, and it's okay to talk about it and discuss it too. You know?
And one more thing to the people, if there's anybody who actually follows me, and you've been following me since the beginning, because most of my followers come from photography. Before that, I had like 80 followers. So I've gotten I've gotten to 1,500, which to me is amazing because again, loner, like I'm more like I'm just by myself. You know, I'm an introvert. So that's a huge number. Even having 50 people in a room saying, "Hey, I like your work." That's amazing.
Like, well, I don't really care for followers much, but like sometimes when you see the number, you're like, wow, there's this many people interested in
so
what I'm doing. It's great.
So one thing I want to tell people is anybody that's watching that comes from my following, I gotta say thank you, because you've chosen to stay when you've seen my randomness. Like, I don't always post photography. Sometimes it's just like random stuff, memes about comics, memes about movies, stuff about movies, random stuff.
Like your stories aren't all photography related?
No. And my feed isn't always looking consistent. I put whatever I like. And so the people that actually have accepted me for how I am, thank you for sticking with me. The people who I have offended, I'm sorry. No excuses, no justifications.
And that's fair.
We're humans. And when we make mistakes, we can either mess it up even more by trying to come up with this beautiful excuse on why we did what we did, or we can just say, you know what, things came out wrong. And that's not me. And the people who can attest, the people who have talked to me, gotten help from me, they'll know that. And then hopefully getting to know a little bit more about me today, maybe if it doesn't change the perspective, it doesn't matter. But at least hopefully this gives you more insight on what happened that day and how I'm not proud of anything that I said. It's not going down like any of my photos that I have on my account.
No, I don't think you should take it down.
No.
Like, keep it. You know?
But not because I'm proud, because it's just like the photos I have on my feed. Every single photo that I've taken since I started. Some people want to make sure that the feed is clean. Mine is just like, no, this is a reminder. To me.
Dude, I haven't deleted photos in years.
This is a reminder to me. If you scroll all the way down, you'll see just photos of my food.
Or
my kids.
There's people who sometimes will do that and they're like, what were you up to back in the day? I'm like, man, I was just out here.
You'll see some heavily HDR edited photos at the beginning of my journey.
Oh, yeah.
And this not only serves me to remind me, stay humble. You are not better than anybody else.
Like we all start somewhere.
Yeah. And this helps other people say, this is how he started.
Yeah.
And he's making progress. I like to think that way. You know? And he's making progress. And he's going to continue to make progress.
No, man, you make great work. And as far as me, you know, like, I also apologize because that was definitely not the best way to go about it. You know, it was a little petty. It was a little...
But aren't we glad that it happened that way?
Yeah, because
we actually got to talk more about it.
I love it, not because of what I did, but because of like your response to it.
Well, the conversation that we had was also very well, like, conversed.
Yeah.
You know? Thank you.
And it just goes to show, you know, you can disagree or you can feel a certain way about something and you can talk about it.
And you cannot judge a person just based on one single action or act that they done on social media. There's more to them, you know?
Yeah. So it was definitely nice talking to you today, bro.
Well, thank you guys.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
I learned a lot about you too that I didn't know, so that's nice. Obviously we didn't run down your whole history, but that's just as a person. So that's always good to bring people in here and let people kind of see how they react or feel about certain things and stuff like that.
And have your strong opinions on stuff too. You don't have to agree with everybody, you know, for people watching, for people listening. You have to have your own ideas too, you know, and you can debate those and maybe get better perspectives on stuff too. So definitely stay open-minded to different ideas.
Before we go though, plug yourself.
Okay, so my main account is Gio Martinez with 2 N's and a Z. And you'll find the link to my portrait account, which is basically the same thing. I just want to have that consistency that I should have since the beginning. But yeah, you guys will find me mostly on Instagram. I don't have time for YouTube or Twitter. I barely have time. I don't even, like, again, I feel blessed that I get to do this. And if it wasn't, I'm getting clients, but if it wasn't that I was getting clients, I would be still shooting.
Yeah, for the passion of it, of course.
Yeah, and I'm still going to be shooting, 20 years from now, 50 years from now, even though photography is going to be a passion and not a thing. Because I think everything is shifting to video,
Yeah, but photography is still...
It's going to stay there.
Yeah.
But I think that there's a lot of potential in video for those people that are getting started.
New motion and
yeah,
I agree.
I think it's gonna come to a point where you're gonna be a TikTok maker or a reel maker.
Hey, some people do that as a living.
That'd be cool though.
I haven't been able to get into TikTok, even though I do video. I'm like, I don't know.
I've never even tried to make a TikTok. I go on there just to watch.
Not my thing, but maybe one day.
Yeah, I don't really have that much time for social media. I started with photography and Instagram, and I got a decent following, and now I feel like I just got to keep going.
Instagram is
because I love it, and because I get to meet other amazing people.
Yeah,
and get
Instagram can be almost like another full-time job, man. So
definitely,
managing it and keeping up with it.
Yeah.
I agree.
All right, Gio. Well, it was nice meeting you, man.
Thanks for coming in, man.
Thank you guys for having me.
We'll see you guys on the next one. 50 episode coming up. Bye.